Very important that I want to cover. You know, whenever I find stuff, I feel like it's really important. Hey, Chris, just another second. Let me just make sure everybody can hear. Um, Thank you, Sarah. It's a long week. So just numbers are started, okay? So let me share this with you guys. So a couple of things I have found very, very interesting. Hey, Kim. Hey, Candy. The more that I dig into this, okay? Yeah, I do have hives already. Missy, I probably have had hives for about an hour now. Hey, Julie. Because as I was reading this, I was angry for you all. I was furious for you all. Hey, Sandy. Debbie, I haven't had a chance to, I have about 39 messages and I haven't gotten to all of them, but I will look when I get off this live. Hey, Mary, how is everybody? So let me, I want to dig in for just a second, okay? Because I'm angry for you. Hey, Barbara, because of the things that I've heard and I actually listened to. And so let me just say this. First of all, when I get off of here, I'm going to post some links for you so that you can literally watch and hear for yourself the same information that I've been digesting for the last hour. Okay. So, so just get ready and buckle up. Okay. So one of the things that kept being said, and you've heard it said a time or two, that there was all of this public support, and there was such community support for this COPA to happen and for this merger to happen. And you hear them, you know, you've heard them say there were so many public hearings. There were 19 public hearings that took place, right? And so, hey, Mindy, so here's the thing. I've only been into this, guys. Can you believe it's not even been 2 months? It's literally been 7 weeks since I started, since I even learned about ballot health. It's been 7 weeks since I even learned what a COPA was or that a COPA even existed. I had no clue what I was getting into when I got pissed off that they were going to mess with my NICU, right? And I know, Amy, it's the hives. Whenever I get really angry or whenever I get really worked up, or if I get really anxious about something, you'll see the hives come up. And I was really pissed. I've been mad for about an hour. I know. So I just, you know, I'm high yellow. What can I say? But I do want to give you guys this information. Hey, Crystal. Okay. So first of all, one of the public hearings that took place for this COPA took place on September 1st, 2016. And ladies and gentlemen, there's a video of this public hearing so that you can listen to the audio of what was said. Now, here's what's very interesting about this, okay? So at this public hearing, there's a list of people to speak. And the very first person up is Bud Halsey. Now, let me just go ahead and tell you this. At the end of what he says, Bud Halsey says to the Tennessee State Department of Health that he urges them to approve this merger. That's what Bud Halsey says. One of the other things that he said that made me absolutely just furious, and I mean furious, folks, if I hadn't heard these words come out of his mouth myself, I would be like, no, there's no way he said that. There's no way that a politician opened his mouth and said this, right? But let me tell you what he said about you guys. This is what he said. Bud Halsey, right around, if you watch this video, hey, Gail, does it sound like I'm saying Bud Halsey? Well, that could be appropriate. I'm saying Bud, B-U-D, Halsey, H-U-L-S-E-Y. Okay? So let me just tell you what he said. He said that he had a meeting with some of the other hospital folks. And at the 4-minute and 15-second mark of this video, this is what he said, folks. Listen to me. He said, and I'm quoting, "Emergency rooms have become dumping grounds for what I call throwaway people." Your state representative called his constituents throwaway people. Did y'all hear that? He said, and I quote, "Emergency rooms have become dumping grounds for what I call throwaway people." He said they're oftentimes people that there's not really anything wrong with them, or, you know, maybe they have mental health issues, or they have this, or they have that, and they sit there for sometimes days at a time. That's what he said at this COPA hearing. I'm gonna put up the link so that you can listen to it yourselves. Throwaway people. That's what he called them. Throwaway people. Yeah, that's what he said. Let me just go ahead. Yeah, I'm just saying. I went back and listened to it like 3 times. I was like, did he just say throwaway people? What the fuck is a throwaway person? What's a throwaway person? Who is someone that can be thrown away? Who is throwaway material? Where's the humanity? Where's the compassion? How do you care about people? That's what he said. Now, let me tell you, the second person that testified at this hearing, the second person was John Lundberg. Now, why should these two names sound familiar? Because you know I've talked about these two names recently, because these are two of the 6 guys in the House who sponsored the bill that amended the COPA. So Bud Halsey and John Lundberg are 2 of the guys who sponsored the amendment to the existing COPA legislation that allowed for this merger to take place. Now, John Lundberg said that this merger was a great thing because the education initiatives would allow them it would give them the benefit to be able to bring people into the region. And that's what we so very much needed. So he also urged them to pass this COPA, to grant them the COPA. Not 2020, guys. Listen, this is the bill. It's Senate Bill number 994. This is the bill that changed the existing cooperative hospital cooperative. No, because Stephen, he then goes on to describe them. He goes on to describe the people that he calls throwaway people. There are people that there's really not anything wrong with them. They're just sitting in the emergency room for no reason at all. Or maybe they do have health conditions, but maybe, you know, those health conditions are, and he names a few of them, or maybe they have mental health issues and he names so no, he didn't mean that their family throws them away. He said, I call them, these are his words, I call them throwaway people. This bill that I'm talking about, remember, it was Eldridge, Harrison, Lundberg, Halsey, Holsclaw, and Hawk. Those 6 guys are the ones that actually sponsored this bill in the House. And then when it went to the Senate, it became Norris, Crow, and Ramsey. And this is the bill. Remember, there was existing legislation on the books. And that existing legislation allowed for 2 separate hospital systems to share assets, to share patient referrals, to share staff, whatever they needed to do to still stay productive and protect the region, right? And then these are the guys that sponsored the amendment that allowed it to have a merger and to eliminate competition, because the existing law didn't allow that. Okay? So these 2 guys were the first 2 people to speak. Now I'm going to give you some more information. You guys ready? Okay, here we go. So what I found really, really interesting was the third person. The third person to testify at this public hearing was Tim Atterbury. That's the president of Holston Valley, or at least he was at the time. right? And he testified in favor of this merger. There's a fourth guy that I'm still fishing around his picture to figure out who he is, because when they cut it, they cut his name out. And so I don't know who he is. The fifth person, here we go. You ready for this little piece of goodness? Guess who the fifth person to testify was? The fifth person to testify was Clark Jordan. Now, let me just tell you who Clark is. Clark Jordan is the vice president and assistant general counsel at Eastman Chemical Company. Eastman Chemical Company. What do you think of that? How y'all feel about that? Eastman has been on the board of this stuff. They have been on board with these changes all the way back in September 2016. Now, I want you guys to remember who I'm telling you is here, because I'm going to tell you about something that was said at this particular wireless connection again. Okay, I'm back. All right, you ready? Here we go. The next person that spoke was Gary Mabry. That is the president and CEO of the Johnson City and Jonesboro Chamber of Commerce. The next person was Mike McIntyre. Who's that? Well, that's the vice mayor of Kingsport. By golly gee. Because when you hear what was said at this hearing, you're going to be pissed. This is the vice mayor of Kingsport. Now he says, listen, I'm not speaking on behalf. I'm not speaking because of my position. I'm only speaking as a private citizen. But he was also in favor of the merger, and he told them to grant the merger, right? So here we go. The next person to speak was Ted Fields, who is the EVP of Tri-Summit Bank. The next person to speak was Jerry Alton, who is the HVC. No, he's not the HVC. Listen, this is where it gets important. This is where it gets important. Y'all ready? Here we go. So the ninth person to speak is a gentleman by the name of Jeffrey Alton. That's what it sounds like his name is. And he's just a regular citizen. And he's been following the COPA stuff for a really, really long time. And let me tell you what he says, folks. It's at the 22-minute mark. These videos are only 30 minutes long, but at the 22-minute mark, this citizen stands up and he says his name, and he says, I'm against the COPA because what I understand, listen to what he says. He said, because what I understand is they're going to close the Holston Valley Trauma Center. They're going to bring patients here to stabilize them and then take them to Johnson City. He'd been going to these hearings. He'd been reading all the information. In September 1st, 2016, there was testimony that they were going to close down the Holston Valley Trauma Center. Now listen, why is that important? Because Jeff Ackerman at the Tennessee State Health Department told me they didn't know that was going to happen. They thought it was going to be Johnson City. What did all your representatives tell you? Oh, we didn't know it was going to be Holston Valley. That's a surprise to us. We had no clue they were planning to close Holston Valley. Oh my gosh, we're so shocked. Bullshit. Every single one of you knew. Because all of you testified at a hearing where it was discussed. So the president of Holston Valley is at a hearing giving testimony at the same time that a citizen is saying, hey, you guys are planning to close down this trauma center, and that's not okay. And there's Bud Halsey. But, maybe he doesn't care because, they're just throwaway people anyway. There's John Lundberg. That's all right because the education initiatives are going to put us in a position to bring people here. Clark Jordan, the guy at Eastman, well, we're all working together for economic development, so that's okay. Gary Mabry, well, of course he supports it. He's in Johnson City and Jonesboro. Yeah, Mike McIntyre, vice mayor of Kingsport. Oh, I'm here just speaking as a citizen, but you're the vice mayor of Kingsport. 'Cause, 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 ' And you got one citizen who stood up and said, are y'all crazy? Yes, Jeff Ackerman was at these hearings. Jeff Ackerman was there. Commissioner Dreisner was there. Absolutely. Sitting at the table, listening to all of this testimony. How about that? Oh, I know, Crystal. So you ready? Here we go. Bud Holsey is a state representative. So here we go. July 18th. Now here's what's so crazy, guys. There's so much of this information out there. You know, this information has been made, it's been made public, it's available, but you just got to go through the COPA announcements, read it, click it, watch it, and all of that. And then for me, I'm digging for documents that aren't up there, as you know. Right? But it's up there for transparency purposes. Right? I think it's up there so they can say, well, y'all knew, but people didn't really know. So here we go. July 18th, 2017. Well, let me just say this. There's another guy that spoke. He was the last one. His name is Dan, and I can't say his name right. Fulgaris, I think is his name. He's an independent medical consultant in the area. And what he said was, hey, I'm not here speaking on behalf of any of my clients, but he pointed out some state legislature and some state Tennessee code. And he said, hey, you guys are going to do this. I don't really think that it's a good idea, but if you do, here's some things that you need to add to the code. Okay, so there we go. So now here we go. July 18th, there's another one of these hearings, and this is the second video that I watched tonight. Okay, so there's a guy that's a resident. He's Urs Geiger, whatever. It's a funny last name, but he spells it. And let me tell you what he said that was really, really interesting. He's the first person to speak. And he says that on June 20th, WCYB put out a report about Wellmont, and that Wellmont was actually bragging in June 20th of 2017 that they had made significant revenue gains because they got a new classification or a new way of billing that so instead of just having people as either emergency room or inpatient, they got an observation. Y'all know when they're admitting you for observation? Well, that was a new insurance classification or designation that they got back then. And according to WCYB, Wellmont said that it generated significantly more revenue for them. Wow. So that might be why when my mom was in the hospital back in October, we were told she was being admitted into the hospital, and they woke her up at 3 o'clock in the morning and had her sign documents saying that she was being admitted for observation. We didn't even know what she'd signed until after that. She didn't know she was, because when I woke up, I was sleeping on the couch in the hospital room, and she said, they woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning to sign some papers, but I don't know what I signed. It was dark and they woke me up to sign them. So it wasn't until a month ago when we went and got her medical records that we found out they had her sign those while she was sleeping, saying that she'd been admitted for observation. Isn't that funny? Here we go. Number 2. Now this one is really, really interesting, folks. It's a gentleman by the name of Bob Leibenluft, right? Leibenluft. He's from AmeriGroup, Tennessee. AmeriGroup, Tennessee provides insurance. They provide TennCare, Medicare and Medicaid through TennCare in Tennessee, and they have about 400,000 members. They had sent the Tennessee State Health Department 3 letters saying, do not grant this COPA. They actually came there and testified in person and said that they were concerned because they agreed with the FTC that a reduction in competition would lead to increased costs, lower quality of health care, less access to health care. And he said to Commissioner Dreisner, well, you know, we sent you 3 letters already, as you know. The next guy, David Linville. Well, guess what? He's the ETSU Associate VP of Health Affairs. Well, of course he supports it, right? ETSU and their big health initiative. The next person, Nancy Barker. She's the Executive Director of Hawkins County Chamber of Commerce. Teresa Kidd, she's the president and CEO of Frontier Health. She was literally she was reading the same information that I've heard Alan Levine and Eric Deaton and Lisa Carter read. All this, we've committed $75 million and from merger synergies. Merger synergies, folks, are reductions. Merger synergies. Eastman actually was there saying to support it. Eastman was there saying grant the COPA. The next person who testified, and I want you guys to take note of this, at the 15-minute and 50-second mark of this second video was Alexis Gilman. He's the FTC staff member who came. Now, when FTC staff actually makes a trip down, they say, hey, listen, that my comments, like he's over like a division when it comes to all this stuff. And he says, you know, hey, listen, I'm FTC staff. I'm over the division of mergers and whatever. And, well, I mean, she was for it. All she kept talking about was the money. Nancy too. Nancy Barker was for it. She voted for it too. But Alexis Gilman from the FTC says, listen, absolutely not. I've already told you everything they said, but if you want to hear it out of his own mouth, then go there to the 15-minute and 50-second mark. The next person is Wesley Combs. He's from a company called One Partner, and apparently they're the company that collects the data and all of that. And there was a bunch of information in there about why they needed this new health information system. And they were providing statistics against his company, One Partner, saying, hey, they could only collect so many data points. And he was like, no, that's actually incorrect. We can collect this many data points. So basically all of this money that they were talking about that they needed to invest for a new healthcare, electronic healthcare system, he was saying, hey, listen, we can actually do that for you now. You don't need to invest all that money to build one of your own. Okay. The next thing, Dan Eldridge, who's the Washington County mayor, he was there in support of the merger. Y'all ready? He was there. Your Washington County mayor, Dan Eldridge. Okay. John Spiropoulos, who's a development partner with Mitchell and Company, he was on the finance committee for MISHA. He was there in support of it. I'm getting to a name you're going to be impressed with in just a second. You ready? Scott Dolbaum, he was a neurosurgeon. He was like, I see the benefits. I see the this, I see the that. But yeah, this neurosurgeon spoke about it. And then guess who shows up at the 32-minute, 45-second mark? Bill Green. Bill Green shows up. And Bill Green testifies in front of the commission, in front of the board. And guess what he says? I'm just going to give you a little snippet of what he says. He says, hey, we started this. He goes, I kind of feel like this is our 25th reunion. We've been doing this so long. We started this 3 years ago. And then I found this really, really interesting. Bill Green says, we've spent millions and millions of dollars on this. It's time for us to move on. Really? Bill Green, you guys spent millions of dollars to get a hospital merger? For what? What'd you spend millions and millions of dollars on? Who'd you give money to? What'd you guys buy? I'm interested. If you're applying for the COPA, how are you spending millions and millions of dollars on it? That's what he says. And he says it to Commissioner Dreisner and Jeff Ackerman. And what else? Right, Gail. The next part is Dan shows up again, the independent medical consultant. And then you have Gary Mabry. He shows up and testifies again. And then another citizen, he speaks up again because he's got cancer. And then this one I found really, really interesting, guys. The last person from these two videos is Ray Heim. Ray Heim calls himself the trauma program manager at Holston Valley Medical Center. So folks, when they tell you that they didn't know what the plans were for Holston Valley, it's absolute horseshit. They testified about it back in September of 2016 and again in July of 2018. Your politicians were there. Your city leaders were there. The people that own your banks were there. Some of your doctors were there. And it's so funny because here's what's really interesting. There are some people who come into my lives, especially when I'm going to call out some names. There are people who come into my lives and they offer up information or they comment as if they're supportive of this cause, as if I don't know who they're related to, or if I don't know what businesses they run, or if people don't tell me who they really are. Listen, folks, I have no concerns about you coming up in here. No concerns whatsoever. Because the truth is truth and the facts are facts. You can come up in here and offer up any little tidbits you want to, but we know who's who. No, they're just digging for information. So listen, Jeff Ackerman, it's Ockerman. He has actually, he's the acting commissioner until Bill Lee appoints a new commissioner. My concern, and I've always had good interaction with Jeff, but my concern is that he said at all of these meetings, listen, folks, the only people, when they talk about all this vast public support, there wasn't vast public support. Every freaking regular average citizen who testified said, what the hell? Absolutely not. There was no outcrying of public support. These were businessmen and politicians saying, do this. That's not public support. That's paid support. And they're all reading the same material, talking about what they've been pledging and what about these merger synergies. I'm going to throw up the links for you guys. Let me tell you something, guys. You have to, I know, Faye, I caught the sarcasm. Here's the deal, folks. You have to hold these people accountable. Oh, I know, Candace. He talked about it. He said it openly that they were doing this in 2014. And they spent millions and millions of dollars. And by September 2017, it was time to move on, by God. But then they all said, we didn't know. We didn't know that. What are they doing? What are they doing trying to close down that trauma center? We didn't know. But you were in the daggone hearings, weren't you? You knew. And you urged them, strongly urged them to grant this COPA. Right? Just saying, folks. They don't vote, Ketron. You're going to hear her do more than vote. You're going to hear her stand up at a podium and list all the reasons why this is going to be a good idea. Oh, I absolutely agree with you 100%, Kim Moore. Yeah. So there you go. So I wanted to make sure that you all knew, while they're busy telling you, no, we didn't know. We had no idea. We would never have. We thought they were going to downgrade Johnson City. No, you didn't. Liars. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Like, it's just that plain, like not even a little bit. So here's what I'm going to do for you right now is I'm going to put the links to both of these up here so you can watch for yourself. And although these hearings have already passed, there's one coming up that I strongly recommend you attend, right? There's one that I strongly recommend you attend. And hold on, I'm putting this in here for you guys. Oops. And I can't see your comments, folks, so just give me a second. Let me give you the second one. And for people who say, oh, well, this is old news, but a lot of people don't know. And that's how they got by with this, is that people did not know, and people trusted their elected officials to inform them properly. People trusted their elected officials. You trusted the people that lived in your community, that took care of you, that, you know, that operate your banks, that, you know, that you voted into office. You trusted those people. Okay, well, I don't need to take off work because the people that I elected who hear my voice and are going to vote in my best interest are there. And that's not what happened. They knew information and they chose not to pass that information along to you. That's the thing that gets me. That's the thing that gets me, guys. They knew and chose not to tell you. You didn't see any articles about them closing all this stuff in the paper ahead of time, did you? Nope. But yet it's contained in SEC filings, and yet it's happening at these hearings. But when they want you to believe something, they got no problem taking out a full fucking page ad. And for those of you all who don't like the F-bomb, sorry, but I'm a little angry, right? So they don't mind taking out a full page ad to tell you why you should support what they're doing, but they didn't take out full page ads to tell you what they were proposing, did they? When they were trying to get this COPA put into play, did they tell you all, listen, we're going to merge this COPA, save your hospitals, but in the meantime, we're going to save them as shells, and we're going to repurpose big pieces of them, and we're going to close down trauma centers, and we're going to downgrade this? Really? Let me tell you something, folks. Diane Blackburn helped reword legislation and laws so that they could refinance their bonds. It ain't just your local politicians in the middle of this. It's your state politicians in the middle of this. Alan Levine actually brags about it in a Business Journal article. He says, whew, it was really close at the last minute. Diane Black had to change the wording so that we could get the bond refinanced. He says it in the Business Journal article. They knew. Eastman knew. Lundberg knew. Halsey knew. Your Kingsport Board of Mayor and Aldermans knew. At the very least, we know that Mike McIntyre knew. When these people tell you, oh, we were blindsided by these changes that they announced 3 months ago or 2 months ago, 2 months ago is when they announced them, you can call bullshit, because they absolutely knew. They were at hearings where it was discussed. And you have every right to be angry. Every right to be angry. Because they didn't tell you. So anyway, that's what I wanted to tell you tonight. That's what I wanted to let you know. Tomorrow night, we will talk about employment stuff, okay? Because I think one of the pieces that really needs to be paid attention to is there are physicians, there are nurses, there are medical staff who have taken oaths, and they have promised to care for their patients and to protect their patients. And because they are now employed by a medical monopoly, oftentimes they are having to choose between fearing for their jobs and doing those things. And that's not fair. And when your employer puts things in the newspaper that, negates your skills and your abilities, when your employer writes letters to the state that demeans and devalues and calls into question your competency, that has a direct impact on your ability to find and have gainful employment by anyone else other than them if you chose to. And it also puts you in a position where you have to say yes to whatever they want you to do. For example, if they downgraded your NICU and they wanted you to work at Niswonger, and they'd spread all over the Tri-Cities that you virtually suck at your job and your skills are less than they should be and your quality of care sucks, like he did in that letter, well, that kind of says that your employer is I don't know, holding you employment hostage, kind of, sort of, right? Because how do you go work for somebody else when you've been bashed? And you've been bashed by the God Almighty, Alan Levine, who's the 40 out of 40, right? He's the healthcare genius boomerang kid. He's about to change healthcare forever. So surely to goodness, if Alan Levine says that your center sucks, or your skills aren't great, or you guys aren't competent, or the quality of care doesn't match up to Niswonger's, which is what he just said in that 20-page letter to the state, it would appear to me that he is infringing upon your ability to have gainful employment outside of that company, sir, because you have an employment medical monopoly over that region. So anybody who crosses you, God help them, won't have a freaking job. I don't really think that's legal. So we're going to talk about tomorrow, and we're going to talk about everything that the COPA says about what you can and can't do regarding people's employment. That's what we're going to do. Well, Michelle, they can't close anything for 4 more years. 4 more years. They are committed. They have to keep your hospitals clinically open for 4 years, and that's it. That's the commitment that they have to you. That's it. Yeah. Oh, Geraldine, honey, I know all about him in Florida. All of the companies, ever since he graduated with his master's in 1992. I can tell you where Alan Levine worked. I can tell you what he's done. I can tell you how much he got paid. I'm just telling you what they said about the way that Mountain States was starting, the way that Wellmont was billing, and that it was an article by WCYB or a story. That's on the videos that you can watch. So anyway, I'm getting ready to get out of here, folks. I still have some work to do, but I just wanted to give you that piece of information. If I were you, I'd bring the phone off the hook tomorrow. I'd be calling John Lundberg. I'd be calling Bud Holsey. I'd be calling Mike McIntyre. I would. I'd be having some conversations with my elected officials. And as a matter of fact, we might want to pick up the phone tomorrow and call Jeff Ackerman and ask that as well. How do you change what, Chris? You guys are welcome. I don't know what you were saying, love. I don't know what you want to change. You guys are welcome. Kingsport BMA meets Tuesday at 7. Tim Bradshaw will be there. Oh, and we do have a special surprise for that Kingsport Board of Merit Alderman meeting. So if you can be there, I would recommend being there. Tim's going to be there because I can't be there. So, yay. What they've done. Yeah, I mean, definitely, guys, here's the key. We really do need some mass media attention on this. No kidding. We need mass media coverage on this. The political corruption that we have, your legislators, they take an oath that they are not to pass legislation that is injurious to their constituents. They literally take that oath. That's their commitment, is that they won't sponsor legislation that is injurious to you. And I can definitely tell you that passing this Hospital Cooperative Act, passing SB 2048, all of those things are injurious to the public. Everything about this is a public disadvantage, from the state all the way down to your local communities and your local city officials. So show up, guys, in mass droves. In mass droves. I will be back in approximately 10 days, give or take. I'm starting to keep quiet a little bit about when I'm traveling because I've been asked about my safety. Tim, it's this Tuesday. So what's this Tuesday? That's the 15th? Is that Tuesday's the 15th? Right? At 7 p.m. City Hall, second floor. Thank you, John Doe. Glad to see you. Thank you, Geraldine. Guys, it's really going to be up to us because your elected officials have hung you out to dry. Okay? So y'all handle it until I get back, and I'll be back soon. Do I know if the BMA meeting will be live streamed, and is it a public meeting? It is a public meeting. The last one that I went to was, I want to say was live streamed, but I'm not 100% correct. Somebody else may know the answer to that question. Before I get off of here, does anyone else have any questions that I can answer for you right now? Yeah. Thank you, Candace. Anybody else have any questions that I can answer for you right now in this moment, or try to anyway? Well, I'm moving this weekend. So I'm going to be moving in the next, I don't know, 5 days or so. So expect for the view to change a little bit. You know, I'm taking some precautions. So I'm moving. Yeah. Can the politicians be recalled? I don't know. That's definitely something to look into, right? It's definitely something to look into. Terry, message me. No, ma'am, I am not moving there. I'm still going to have an amazing view. It's just going to be different. It's just going to be different. It's still a good view, though. It's still a good view. I just, you know, there's a lot of things around me that are kind of, I put it this way. I just needed, I'm taking some precautions. Okay. Yeah, just message me. Oh, don't forget, if you ordered your rally for the Valley t-shirts, Angie is going to have them. Candy, I think you'll love the new view just as much. I love this view too. I've had this view for 18 months, and I'm excited about the new one. I was hesitant for a minute, but it's okay. I'm going to have a different one, and I love it too. So it's coming. So, you know, change is good. You know, change is good. Change is inevitable. I embrace it and rock with it. You know what I mean? So it's going to be okay. All right. Anything else, folks? Anything else? Don't be worried. Nothing but good vibes and good energy, folks. Nothing but good vibes and good energies. Yes. So that is something that we are working on, is yard signs. That's the next thing, guys. That's the next thing, is yard signs. Okay. So I am being careful, and I'll be back soon. So 10 days to 2 weeks, I'll be back. Okay. Yeah, Stephen, I love it here. So I will, Gail. I will definitely look at it. All right. So Tuesday, BMA meeting, 7 p.m. I'm getting off of here, guys. Sullivan County Commission meeting is January 17th at 6 p.m. Anything else you guys want me to call out? Anything else? Anything else? I am, Tina. I am. Anything else, folks? I'm checking it out. I'm going to hang out for just a second to see if there's anything else. Jason said, look above. Look above to what, Jason? Jason, I'm looking, honey. I don't know what you want me to look at. Does anybody know what Jason wants me to look at? I don't see it. I don't see it. Wise Counties tomorrow night. Yes, Tim, I'm going to get you those bullet points. Okay. I appreciate you guys back. You're awesome too. So y'all know how I end this thing. You guys are already saying it. I love it. And I'm toying around with the idea of getting t-shirts made that say that too, because you know that's my saying. So COPA review time is 5 p.m. LaDonna, 5 p.m. time. If you are in the Ballot Health private Facebook group, the Citizens Advocacy group that I created, I've got lots of documents in there, including the COPA documents and all of that goodness. So, you know, you can review all of that as well. I know that Bill Green was there, and then there was another guy, Wayne, that was over a bank. Hold on. Ted Fields. He was the EVP of Tri-Summit Bank. He was there as well. The links are at the top, guys. I've already put the links up there so you guys can watch the videos for yourself, and you will be good to go. Where can I find the links? The links to the YouTube videos are already up there in the description of this live. Make a button with that saying on it. Yeah. Yes. Yes. I am. Oh, here it's already. Yeah, the saying is already protected. Yes. I'm good for help. I'm good for help. All right. So I'm getting off of here, guy. Let's buy one, Stephen. I'm good with that. Okay. All right. So I'm getting off of here, you guys. You've been amazing. So y'all know the deal. Say it with me. Be amazing. Be light. Be love. Peace. I'm out.